Hello, my name is Kevin Alejandro Trucios Angulo. I'm a student in the BA in ELT, and the reason for this video is to send my assignment for the final unit of the course English in Today's Global Society. The instructions for this assignment were to share a reflection guided by a series of questions about some of the topics that we covered in previous topics in the course, and to make connections with our practice and the performance we have in our classroom with our students. So, in order to start, I would like to begin discussing how the knowledge I have in today's global society can help my students to develop their language skills and also the knowledge they have about the target language. So, first of all, I think it's relevant to mention this great role that English has as a global language nowadays. Basically is a main channel of communication of most people around the world, despite of countries and nationalities and cultures. I think that this language has given people the tool to interact and to be part of the same circle when it comes to education, business, entertainment, culture, science, technology. So I think that it's relevant for us as teachers to raise this awareness when it comes to the importance of English in our world, because that way I think we can raise awareness in our students and we can develop this sense of purpose on why to learn a second language and what benefits I will get as an outcome. So I think that once we have settled this culture in the classroom, or at least this again sense of purpose, it can lead to our students to feel more motivation, to feel more focused, and actually to explore the language in the different aspects they can according to their goals regarding the language. Something else that I think it's quite relevant when it comes to explaining why English has become such an important tool nowadays, it would be to also discuss the background that it has. And perhaps English has quite a long history that wouldn't be all of it like that relevant to mention in a class, but I think that we could cover the major events that actually changed the course of history, or how and now English has become the language that now it is. For example, I think the first major event that we could mention could be this expansion from the British Crown, when it was trying to explore different lands and in different continents, and that way the language was taken to all these new places. And well, of course, I would say that the second major event could be this growth that US experienced as a country, which has led to be basically the major model of in different aspects such as economy, politics, entertainment, and that's why so many countries are trying to be part again of this circle and this channel of communication. Something quite interesting that was mentioned in one of the units of the course was the existence of the three circles of English, which is basically how countries are classified according to the use they have for English. For example, we have in the first circle the countries that use English as a native language, and in the second circle we have all these countries that use English as a second language, because they have a different native language, but they also use it as a second language. And then we have the third circle, where our country, Mexico, belongs to, and it's all about these countries that are looking for gaining this tool, this language. So people in these countries can again be part of all these contexts in business, in education, in technology and science, and be able to interact with people from all around the world. Now, moving to a different topic, I would like to discuss how my perspective towards the language has changed over the years, and especially after taking this course, and how I think that this change of my perspective could benefit my students in their future. So it's quite interesting to mention the future because I think that I would say that's the biggest impact that English will have in all of us. Well, our generations are evolving. The world is evolving itself. We have technology. We have all these digital tools. And even if we don't want to admit it, it's going to change a lot of things. And one clear sign for this is how a language has changed. Now we have new words, new vocabulary, grammar forms have changed. We have found new styles of speech, and it's all about the evolution that a language naturally will experience. So I think that is quite relevant to mention what the future will hold for all English users and also for us as teachers, because well, this is our way of living and this is what we do for our job. And talking about the future is basically talking about technologies, all these new technologies that we are basically being required to use if we want to be part of this change, if we want to stay updated. So I think that the use of technologies actually can have a very positive impact in our students, especially when it comes to independence. Now, I believe that with technology, students will have all these tools to continue using the language, to interact, even if they're not in a classroom. So I think that the use of technologies could benefit all of us, users of the language, and us as teachers, and that's why I think it's worth using and worth training ourselves in all these new tools. Something quite interesting as an additional note that was mentioned in one of the units from the course as well was how we personalize the language to our context, which talking from my experience, it's actually something quite true that at least here in the city where we live in, it's something quite common to do. Here I believe we have quite solid cultural elements, and I have had many experiences with other teachers where I can see that they use these cultural elements in their favor, because that way they can get students to be familiar with the language, and that way they can get used to it and they can make these connections in a perhaps more natural way. And again, it's all about making them to feel familiar with something that they are trying to learn. So I found this quite interesting, how we teachers tailor the use of the language, and also how users themselves also tailor how they use it when they are not using it perhaps with a native speaker or with a foreign speaker from another country. So I think that it's something quite relevant to focus on, to point out, because again, communication, especially when it comes to communication between English users, it's not all about native people. Now we have people from all around the world, from different countries, who use this language as a second language, and that way they can communicate with people from other countries as well, even if they are not native speakers. So I find it very interesting how we are again tailoring and how we use the language according to our needs and according to the people that we interact with. So I find this quite interesting when it comes to this topic. And now, on a different note, I would like to express how having all this knowledge that I have acquired through this course has impacted my performance, my teaching. So I think that again, as I already mentioned in some of my insights before, I think that it's all about raising awareness in the classroom to raise this sense of a purpose and to make students and see how useful it is, not only for traveling or for perhaps entertainment or using social media. We have many different uses for the language, and also that they should be familiar with interacting with not only one kind of speaker, because again, now English in our society has become a lingua franca, so we will find speakers from all around the world, not only from US or from Canada or from United Kingdom. We will find users in India, in Africa, in many other places. So that's why I think it's quite relevant for us as teachers to raise this awareness and make them feel familiar with the reality of having this language to communicate with different speakers around the world. Now, in order to wrap up with my reflection, I would like to give maybe some additional insights that I have acquired thanks to this course. And one of them would be the use of, again, technology. I believe that we have already discussed this topic in other courses as well, how relevant technology is for our performance and for students as users of the language. But what I liked about this course is how we were able to see technology on a more interactional side, and how we can use these tools to build this community. And now that we're talking about community, something quite interesting that I definitely found enriching and super useful was the use of acronyms when it comes to different approaches in teaching. We have CLIL, which is Content and Language Integrated Learning, which I am familiar with because of the previous job experiences that I've had before. And then also we have CBL, which is Community-Based Learning, that I think it's quite linked to. I know that we also use it to create a community in the classroom, but also creating a community with other uses as well. And here is where technology could play a big role in this aspect. Then is something that now personally I have experienced thanks to the current job that I have, is how TBL, task-based learning, has become actually the main approach that I use in my job. And I think that all of these approaches, it was useful for me to have this extra glance at them and to see the role that they can play in this, again, global context. Something quite useful that I also got from this course was the use of some other acronyms, such as the different types of English that we have. We have EFL, which is English as foreign language. We have ESL, English as second language. EIL, English as international language, and ELF, English as a lingua franca. Honestly, I used to make this, perhaps I had a misconception of these acronyms, and perhaps I used to think that they were all the same. And now, thanks to one of the units that we had the chance to work on, I think it's clearer for me to see the difference on these acronyms and these different kinds of English, and how each one actually belongs to a different purpose or a different use that the speaker has for the language. Now, in order to wrap up with this reflection, I find it appropriate to discuss some of these serious topics that we had in one of the units, which is basically the role that language education has in our country, in Mexico. I was quite interested in how international organizations actually had a big role in like improving the educational system and of course other areas of life too. And well, I find it also quite sad in some of the data that I found in the articles and the materials from the units, how actually we have actually this budget for educational purposes, and actually this budget is not reflected in what we have in the classrooms. We don't have the enough materials, we don't have enough resources, and the students don't have all the tools that they could use in order to have perhaps an easier experience when it comes to learning the second language. So I think that it's something to think about, of course. Is something to think about, and sadly perhaps we as teachers, we don't have that much control on the situation. But as one of the phrases that I remember from the unit, well, it's not about what they do for us, because at the end of the day we are the ones who are in charge of our students, and well, we can do wonders even if we do not have like all the materials that we could use. So yeah, it's quite a sad reality, but again, the future it's basically in our hands, and it's up to us to make the proper changes and to follow the proper practices in order to get the best of our students and the best of our classroom. Thank you again for the attention, and I hope this reflection was enriching.